Hey everybody, what's up? It's Neon Dream Games, and this week I worked a little bit more on my menus, in particular programming the menus so they can have function. So stick around, we'll talk about it. So as I said, this week I was programming a bit more, mostly on my menu system. I wanted to create, obviously, the ability to select different options within the menu, and I didn't get as far as I would have hoped to. I really want to start piecing this game together so that it can be a final product. I also started to work on the actual paper crumpling effect. And I quickly realized I need to start working on some sound design. So that's where that sort of ended. But before I kind of show you a little bit of what I did, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can be up to date. Hit the bell button. You'll know when all my videos come out, and follow along this journey with me as I try and make indie games. So as I said, the week got a little bit away from me, but I did make some progress. And to be honest, I guess I want to talk a little bit about utilizing artificial intelligence. I've talked about it several times on this channel, but what I have really discovered, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. A few weeks ago, I was creating a tool, essentially a calculator tool for my other online business, which I have mentioned here before. But I was creating a tool that could help me calculate profit margins and things like that in Excel. So what I ended up doing is like I don't know how to do all the higher functions and things in Excel. So I was kind of hand in hand working with artificial intelligence to create those functions and implement them into Excel. And I had a really fun time doing that. And I know people have different opinions about that on using AI, but I've mentioned several times, if you guys don't like the fact that I use AI, you may as well just unsubscribe and leave the channel, because that is going to be a major part of my journey. And I hope you guys are the types that do like to use AI and view it as a tool and a helpful tool and everything to further your progress, because it's really fun to use. And in previous projects that I've done in Godot, I have basically tried to program things myself. And if I ran into a little bit of a problem or whatever, I would ask the chatbot how to do this one thing, or look at the code I already wrote. Can you tweak it or tell me what I did wrong? That sort of thing. The approach that I have taken so far in Flutter Plane is more, I tell AI what I want and it spits out a bunch of code for me, and then I implement that code. I go through it, make sure I understand it, and then I implement the code and tweak the code as needed by my game, because sometimes you speak in generalities and it doesn't quite know what you want to do, but the function is there. So as long as I can go in and tweak it, it's fine. And to be honest, it has made this process of making this game much more enjoyable. And I guess I'm going to pop up what I've done, because I sort of want to, I said that whole story because I sort of wanted to prepare you for kind of what was accomplished, which isn't a lot, but when I saw how much code was involved with just a little bit of what I wanted to do, I was kind of shocked. So anyways, let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. So we've seen this. I showed this last week, and I had the opening animation, which let's just run that again. Oop, here we go. So here's the opening animation. That all comes in, the plane comes in, and that's kind of where it stopped last time. But now I can go through the options. So far, none of these link to anything, but I can hit up and down and select a different option. And the cursor is the paper airplane, so that's sort of pointing to which one you're on. And I thought that was kind of fun. But just to do this simple little function to create this menu was much more code than I ever thought it would be. And I also wanted to do this thing too, where like if the mouse is hovered over the option, that you can, it tracks. But what I also wanted to do was like if I leave the mouse there and decide I want to take over on keyboard, I can hit the keyboard and it doesn't just go where the mouse last was, like it doesn't remain stuck there. But as soon as I take over the mouse again, it's going to jump. So I had no idea how to do that. I had to work with I've been using Claude in particular for coding. I've tried several different ones. ChatGPT is okay, but Claude seems to be so far the best one that I've enjoyed using. But anyways, let's pull that code up. So here is all the code just to run this menu screen. And I just thought like that's so much code, I thought, for just to do that little bit. But maybe it could be done better. I don't know. Here's the thing with working with AI. I think you do have to have some fundamental knowledge on how to code yourself. And it's not as if I don't ever write my own code, but I have been lately starting with Claude, pasting stuff in and then going back in and tweaking things. And it's really been a great little workflow. I mean, I don't need to probably talk too heavily on this, but when the scene starts up, we have some ready functions that set up the ground tiles and everything to animate. So basically we set up the animated background and the things that are for that. We also have a finished signal there, like when the intro animation is finished, that's going to trigger something. We can look at that later as we get down there. And then, of course, right when it starts, we're going to play that intro animation. And oh yeah, let's show that. I created a skip function because, as we all know, we want to skip those intro animations every once in a while and just get right to it. So I put that functionality in. If you hit any key, it skips the whole intro animation, goes right into the menu select. I wanted that functionality in there as well. So right here, it's just if the intro is playing and a button is pressed, it skips the intro, goes to the skip intro function. So that's at the beginning of the input events. If the menu isn't active yet, it just doesn't look for any of this other stuff, which is the kind of the input functions for hitting up and down and the mouse and all that stuff. The menu becomes active after the intro animation, and then that's when that triggers all this stuff. So it's keyboard input, up and down, and then the accept button, which I believe is just going to be spacebar. I might change that later. Currently up and down I've mapped as up and down, and also W and S on the keyboard. Accept is just spacebar right now, but I might also add enter to that and tweak that code as well. Then we get into the process function that has all the stuff with animating the backgrounds, and it checks for the mouse movement, but only does that when the menu is active. I had a whole bunch of debug stuff because I was having problems after putting the code in here where the paper airplane cursor was just disappearing as soon as the intro animation ended. I was trying to figure out where it was. I had been checking for its position at the wrong point, which I always seem to have that problem with things. Like if ever I have a positional problem, it always seems to be that it's checking for the position at the wrong time in the code or something. That's kind of what it came down to. But yeah, so if the mouse is moved, it checks for the last input if it was a keyboard or a mouse, and that's the whole overtaking stuff. We have the skip intro function, which is if up at the top of the code there, if I push anything, it'll skip the intro. I created a final menu state because I was having troubles having sort of the final. So in the animation player, I created like the last frame of all the animated elements of the intro, so that it would just trigger that and make sure it goes right to the final frame so nothing's out of whack there. When the intro animation is finished, it checks to see if it was the intro animation. It says intro plane is false, and we set up the final menu state. And the final menu state has all this stuff. This is where I believe I had these menu positions and ranges and things all up in the ready function, I think originally, and they needed to be down here at the final menu state. So anyways, that defines the ranges of where the mouse is, the positioning of the menu spots and all that. The plane cursor, I'm going to have to delete all these print things or comment them out, but they're there just so I know what is going on. We update the cursor position every time if the menu's active and cursor changes, so it updates it. And select current position. We match the position with the menu positions up here. That pertains to the play options and exit. So anyways, that is basically what I had got done there. I will quickly show you I'm creating a menu background node, and that is where the menu here will pop up. And I have animation player. So right now it crumples really quick. I want it to be really quick, uncrumple. And actually when you go off the menu, I'm going to probably create a separate. So right now this animation is called paper unfold. I'll probably do a paper fold or something animation rather than just playing it backwards. I'll just make its own animation, but it doesn't show the final fully opened piece because that also is going to be its own animation because I have 3 different frames that it kind of jumbles through. So I didn't get that far. This is where I kind of ended, and I realized I should probably, like, if I'm doing these animations, I should create the crumple paper sound effect so I can just really see it all. But I think that's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a fun little menu thing. So that's kind of where I ended this week. And I'll probably just be continuing on there in the next week. I will probably especially take a look at some sound effects and sound design and everything and start implementing those into the game. I will obviously, once you click start or options, this paper menu background thing will pop up and you'll be able to select options and things from that. So I'm going to hopefully tie all that together. I'm hoping this week. I never know. My weeks, I make plans change. I'm sure many of you understand. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this project would be done by now. I think I understand when people say that it's that last like 10% is what defines people who finish games and who don't finish the games. It's that final like 10% of your game that you just need to piece together, tighten things up, link everything. That is kind of where I feel like I'm at because I have pretty much the whole gameplay loop. That's all down. That's ready to go. I can play the game functionally. I need to tweak a few things, but that will also pertain to the menu selections that you pick to determine like difficulty level, and especially in the generated levels because that's going to spawn trees randomly. I have ideas on what to do there, but I just need to piece everything together. So I want to get this game done and get it out. I hope I could be done with it by the end of the month, but I'm not going to hold myself to it. It'll be done when it's done. Tentatively, I hope I can release the game in July, but we'll see. I will keep bringing you guys along on the journey, and leave your comments down below on anything really. If any thoughts, any tips, anything you want to comment, leave it in the comments. And I just enjoy the community that's growing here. It's been fun to go on this journey with its many ups and downs, but hopefully we're on an up and up here and going to release this game. But that's going to be it for this week. I said it before, but again, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell button and you'll be notified when I release my next videos. And until next time, as always, keep YouTubing it up.
Thanks for checking out Neon Dream Games channel. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you can stay up to date on all the latest videos we have to offer. Don't forget to leave a comment to suggest what kind of videos you'd like to see more of in the future. See you in the next video.